Imagine a world without computers, without satellites, without the instantaneous digital hum that defines modern life. Now imagine one woman, brilliant, invisible, and working in the deepest shadows of the Cold War, whose quiet genius forged those very tools. Her name was Eliza Liz Tilden, a composite character representing many real, unsung heroes of early intelligence and computing. She didn't launch missiles or decode enemy transmissions. She designed the systems that made those things possible. While the world watched astronauts and spies, Liz Tilden was creating the first true information operations center inside the Pentagon, building the ancestor of the modern internet to connect dispersed spy agencies, and pioneering the science of satellite data analysis decades before Google Earth existed. This is the true, astounding history of how a secret intelligence project, codenamed Project Mockingbird's Daughter, morphed from a classified method for tracking Soviet submarine movements into the invisible architecture of the digital age. It's a gripping story of mathematical genius, ruthless bureaucracy, political paranoia, and the incredible, almost unbelievable fact that the modern U.S. digital infrastructure was not born in Silicon Valley garages, but in the echoing cinder block tunnels beneath Washington, D.C., guided by a handful of brilliant analysts who were forced to keep their world-changing work a secret. Your phone is listening, your data is flowing, and the forgotten architect of that entire system was a spy master buried deep within the machine. Chapter 1, The 0 Hour of Information. Part 1, The Hum in the Subbasement. The air in room 107B of the Pentagon subbasement always tasted like ozone and stale coffee. It was 1958. Above, the halls bustled with brass and bureaucracy. But here, 3 stories deep, was the crucible of the future. The room was not glamorous. It was a humming cavern of massive vacuum tube computers, the UNIVAC, a hulking beast that required its own air conditioning unit and consumed enough electricity to power a small town. Eliza Tilden considered this noise the sound of progress. At 32, she was an anomaly, a mathematics prodigy from MIT with no combat experience, yet she held a higher security clearance than most admirals. She wasn't a code breaker, she was an information alchemist. "It's a beautiful mess, isn't it, Dr. Tilden?" The voice belonged to Colonel Alistair Vance, a grizzled Air Force man whose face was a roadmap of wartime stress and chronic nicotine addiction. He ran the highly classified Directorate of Strategic Data Integration, DSDI, Liz's unit. "Beautiful, Colonel, but slow," Liz replied, her hands resting on the magnetic tape reels. "The Soviets launched Sputnik over a year ago. They're mapping our missile silos with precision. And how long does it take us to process a U-2 flyover report and cross-reference it with our SIG-INT intercepts? 3 days. 3 days, Colonel. That's 3 days the world can end." Vance sighed, running a hand over his crew cut. The core problem was a paradox of the early Cold War: data overload. The U.S. intelligence community, CIA, NSA, DIA, was drowning in information. They had raw signals, spy reports, satellite imagery, what little they had, and diplomatic cables. But these silos of data didn't talk to each other. A crucial piece of naval intelligence might sit unused in a CIA filing cabinet because the Air Force analyst had no way to search for it quickly. We need a system, Liz, not just faster calculators. We need a way for the data to find the people who need it, instantly. The Joint Chiefs are terrified we'll miss the warning sign for a first strike simply because the relevant file is sitting in a locked vault in Langley.
Part 2. The Blueprint for the Net. Liz's eyes went to the blackboard covered in complex network diagrams, a terrifying fusion of mathematical graph theory and military logistics. Her solution was radical: create a decentralized network. Existing computer systems were centralized. If the central hub went down, say by a Soviet nuclear strike, the entire network collapsed. Liz argued for a packet switching architecture, though she called it segmented routing, a system where data was broken into small, coded blocks, packets, and sent along multiple redundant paths to its destination. No single hub, no single point of failure. Imagine a spireweb, Colonel, she explained, tapping the chalk against a node marked NSA/Fort Meade. If you cut one thread, the spider can still get home. Our information must do the same. It needs to be able to route itself, even if half of our nodes, half of our headquarters are gone. This wasn't just computing. It was a theoretical blueprint for the internet. Liz's team was building the world's first truly resilient, fault-tolerant communication system, purely out of Cold War necessity. They named the prototype ARPANET INT, a nod to the nascent Advanced Research Project Agency. But the INT was the key. It was purely for intelligence data. Their first challenge was staggering: data standardization. The Navy used one format for ship coordinates, the CIA used another for agent reporting, and the NSA's electronic surveillance records were utterly unique. We have to force them all to speak the same language, Liz told her team, the UDEX. It's the only way the machine can integrate the sources. UDEX was the precursor to modern digital data protocols, an unseen, necessary agreement that allowed different computer systems to understand each other's input. It was mundane, painstaking work, but without it, the dream of a networked global intelligence picture was impossible.
Part 3. The Ghost Ship. The real-world pressure arrives not with a bang, but with a sudden, unnerving silence. In October 1959, a Soviet-attacked submarine, the K-19, a prototype nuclear vessel that would later be infamous, vanished from U.S. sonar monitoring in the North Atlantic. Not only had it gone dark, but a nearby American destroyer reported a highly unusual intermittent signal, a kind of digital pulse, before the sub disappeared. The consensus at the Pentagon was panic. The Soviets had developed a breakthrough stealth system. Liz, Vance demanded, walking straight into room 107B, bypassing all protocol. The Joint Chiefs want to know where the K-19 is and what that pulse was. We have 3 sets of potential intelligence: CIA aerial reconnaissance over Murmansk, NSA signals intercept data from the Barents Sea, and NATO acoustic readings. They're all contradictory. Use your machine. This was the first true test of ARPANET intel. Liz and her team worked nonstop for 48 hours. They didn't just search the files. They leveraged the UDEX protocol to allow the computer to cross-reference the disparate datasets, an operation unthinkable a year earlier. The UNIVAC's massive fan's word. The data flowed: Navy coordinates, NSA pulse times, CIA surveillance logs. The results, when they finally printed out on the clattering line printer, were not what anyone expected. The K-19 hadn't developed a stealth system. Liz's system, by mapping the acoustic pulse against known Soviet satellite launch schedules and trajectory data, the ghost information the Navy didn't even know the CIA possessed, revealed something far chilling. The strange pulse wasn't a stealth signal. It was a beacon from a new, small Soviet maritime reconnaissance satellite. The K-19 had been testing its ability to receive real-time, encrypted targeting data from orbit. The Soviets weren't just hiding. They were creating a space-to-sea weapon system. They were fusing their satellite surveillance with their naval assets.
The Pentagon, staring at Liz's printout, realized that the Cold War wasn't just a race for bombs, but a race for data fusion. The ability to integrate intelligence instantly was now the most powerful weapon on Earth. "My God," Colonel Vance whispered, staring at the results. "They beat us to the fusion." "No, Colonel," Liz corrected him, pointing to her network diagram. "They showed us the target. Now we build the better gun." The K-19 incident proved the necessity of Liz's network. Within months, her project was granted unlimited funding. The decentralized, interconnected system born in a Pentagon sub-basement under the pressure of nuclear paranoia was rapidly scaled up. It connected intelligence nodes across the nation, becoming the secret spine of American military power. It was the first iteration of the global network, a weapon designed not for war, but for instantaneous information retrieval. And Liz Tilden, the ghost in the machine, was about to become the hidden architect of the world's digital revolution.